All right, so we are going to do another reaction to some stuff today. We did talk about this the other day, the Glink drug. I had shared a video on our Twitter, basically saying I had watched Glink's video saying the most addictive drug that nobody's talking about. Glink is not a content producer I'm super familiar with, but I did start seeing some of his stuff recently because he was talking with Mr. Girl about pornography, and I watched some of Mr. Girl's stuff, and so I was watching this guy's stuff, and it seems like, according to him, his goal is the same as ours, to destigmatize the drug word and to really break it down and either disassemble it or abolish it. And if that's the goal, though, my argument was that by further diluting the word, in my opinion, by associating pornography with it and basically just vilifying pornography, that this doesn't actually do anything to destigmatize the drug word. And if anything, it just, as I said, further confuses people on what is a drug and what isn't. But let's take a look at his video, and we will see what these ladies have to say right here. Okay, so so we'll start the video.
Would you consider porn to be a drug?
Yes.
That girl said yes. The other girl said yeah. What would you say if you were asked this question in the street?
I consider porn to be a drug?
Yes.
No. Because porn isn't a drug. I mean, I've masturbated without porn. It's the act of masturbation, that the release that is the good feeling. It's not because of porn.
Right. You get your
Porn is just another type of stimulant.
right. You get your endorphin from the nut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's keep
Or
watching this.
just touching yourself, you get endorphin. You don't specifically have to nut to get it.
Right. Literally, just stimulating yourself feels good. You don't even You don't even have to orgasm. Literally, just touching yourself, stimulation feels good. You get endorphins from that too. But the nut generally is like a, that's a supercharge for sure.
Yeah.
Do you consider porn to be a drug?
Yeah, I think definitely addiction, form of endorphins.
Okay, this lady says definitely addiction. We didn't say anything about addiction. He said drug, which she's immediately, see, that's where her mind goes. But note that, right? So he says the word drug, her mind immediately goes addiction.
Yeah, it's a keyword.
And she's like,
it's drug.
Yeah, she's like, okay, well, how do I make porn and drug? Like, she's looking for all the like similarities between the two, and she's like, okay, well, they're both drugs are addictive, or at least that's what she's saying, right? Which is the general consensus of the masses and the media, and definitely of our laws, that drugs are super addictive,
Yeah.
and but apparently not the drugs. Don't worry, guys. Not the drugs that the FDA approves. Those ones aren't super addictive.
Those
are fine.
Those aren't addictive, and
You're able to just use those safely and responsibly. Don't worry about that. But all other drugs, no, not those ones. Not the ones that people don't have patents for and all that stuff. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, interesting to see that her mind immediately goes to the addiction thing, and that is where I would imagine someone would try to make the argument for porn being a drug is in the addiction.
Form of, just like the want to feel good, but a drug? Nah, I don't think it's a drug.
But then she said doesn't think
consider
it's a drug.
shrooms a drug?
Didn't she say earlier? Wait, did she say yes earlier or no? I thought she said yes, addiction.
Definitely addiction,
Oh, she said definitely addiction. Wait.
Yeah, I think definitely addiction.
See, didn't she say yeah? She said maybe she wasn't saying yeah and agreeing. Maybe that she was just like talking.
Form of endorphin.
She did say addiction in form of
It's
endorphins.
like the want to feel good, but a drug? Nah, I don't think it's a drug.
Okay, so she ends up saying no. I don't think. I mean, you do get endorphins from the porn too, but ultimately, we also get endorphins from the sensation of touching yourself. You also get endorphins from the nut. You get endorphins from watching the people do the nasty, and the sexy things that are happening and being said, and the noises and all of that. Right? You're getting endorphins from all of that. You're getting endorphins from like so many different sources. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you guys
Like some people might also get endorphins from like having a scented candle in the room. Like, is the scented candle a drug?
consider shrooms a drug?
Yeah, I do.
No,
I don't know
but it's
why.
only because they've been told it's a drug.
Yeah, this lady did say yes, it is a drug. He asked him about shrooms. Did you catch that? Did you catch that?
Yeah, no, yeah, I heard.
The
It's
second
because
question was, yeah.
she's used to everyone saying that it's a drug.
Right. And shrooms, unlike porn, are closer to the definition of what drug policy is about, right? Like, we don't talk about drug policy and then talk about everything that could potentially be addictive. Coca-Cola, candy, pornography, comic books, video games. Yes, all these things are addictive. Not everything that is addictive is how we define drug. We define it by substance and by literally compounds, chemical compounds. Like, yes, I too have made similar arguments for legalization in that there are activities that get you high, like a runner's high is also a high. But that is more to just, make the point that that high is another word that they just use to stigmatize certain kinds of drug use. But then someone will say like, oh, well, I took my Adderall, and be like, oh, so like, yeah, are you feeling it? Yeah. Oh, so you're pretty high. Like, no, what? Like, I'm not high. Like, Adderall isn't like a drug like that, dude. Like, it's like a drug, but it's not like that kind of drug, bro. It's
But
Adderall.
no, anytime you alter your state of mind is getting high.
Right.
Even with a prescription drug, it alters your state of mind, alters the chemicals in your brain, just like alcohol does too.
Yeah, getting drunk is getting high. If it's just they just call it drunk. We just have a different word for it. But
It's a different word.
It's just you are feeling the effects of the substance that you took.
Right? Exactly. The substance that you consumed.
Right. Which porn you do consume, like we do. A lot of people do take for granted the fact that you do consume technically with your eyes and your mind, but it is not a literal, alternative molecule entering my mind and altering it in ways that I normally cannot alter it.
Right, exactly.
It's just because it's like something you ingest. That's why I consider it a drug. I'm not sure. I don't think about the definition of drugs.
Would you consider porn to be a drug?
Probably. Some people.
I like that girl was like, I need to further think about it, which is good. It's good that people do think about that when you ask them these kinds of questions.
Right? You should always stop to think.
Yeah, like, maybe I should redefine like what I think about this thing. Like, I haven't really thought about that. I just kind of accept what the authorities tell me a drug is, and that drugs are bad.
Right? See, some people associate drugs with addictions and then addictions with drugs. Because, see, people can have a porn addiction and people have drug addictions. So, because you can have a porn addiction, then porn must be a drug, right?
I guess so.
stop taking it. With drugs comes addiction. I think there is definitely porn addiction. Yeah.
See, that's what she said. With drugs comes addiction. Okay, with drugs comes addiction, but again, addiction is not drugs. She's even saying, even though she's saying yes, it is. She's saying with drugs comes addiction, and there is porn addiction. Sure, and there's cheeseburger addiction, and there's candy addiction, and there's donut addiction, coffee addiction, energy drinks. The list goes on and on and on and on. Literally, pack rats. They have an addiction to literally just everything, practically. Just having everything. They have an addiction to everything. So does everything a drug? If a pack rat is addicted to like having more of it?
It's not as bad as some things, I think. Probably.
Here, take a picture of this. This is way more aesthetically pleasing.
Tastes pretty much as good as other protein bars. So
Yeah, I'll take your trash.
Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, so the question is, do you guys consider porn to be a drug?
No, porn is not a substance.
Damn.
It's not a substance, Chad. I don't know what to tell you.
That's pretty much where I'm at.
Porn is a medium. I think porn is bad for you, but it's not a drug.
Yeah, right? Porn can be bad for you, but that doesn't make it a drug.
Yeah. This guy did say specifically straight up, though, it is bad for you. I tend to disagree with that assessment.
I say it can be bad for you.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Everything can be.
Everything can be bad for you if you take it too much. Fuck, you can die from drinking water.
Right.
Or you're taking vitamins.
Right.
I don't think drugs are bad for you necessarily.
Would you guys consider shrooms to be a drug? Magical mushrooms.
Yeah.
Should any drug be illegal?
Well, yeah, if you call it magic mushrooms.
Poison.
So that guy, he said, should any drugs be illegal? And that guy said, no. And then he said, poison.
Poison should be illegal. I think that anything time, you can eat poison's not really a good time for you.
Do you feel like, but then what do we define? You run a slippery slope of prohibition even there, though.
With
Like,
poison? I mean, anything that you ingest and that will immediately kill you or will be the cause of your death after ingesting it one time.
but we allow we allow poison. We allow everything. We allow guns to be owned.
Yeah.
And so why can't people buy poison?
Not to consume.
I mean, why so people can buy a gun to shoot themselves, but they can't buy poison to consume?
Yeah.
Why? This is for another topic. This is for another day. That's an interesting one to talk
Look,
about.
if you're gonna pull the threads, though, right? Guns are not the leading cause of suicide. They're not the leading method of choice.
Yeah, but they are
But
an option. A
poison-
very effective option.
Look, suicide is not even the way. If you're thinking about suicide, chat, please call the National Suicide Hotline because life is worth living even when it sucks. Preferable. I mean, look, life is short, and sometimes it sucks, but death is super long.
Alcohol is in a sense a poison. Should we then ban alcohol again?
Yeah, but not from one dose. Look, if you're gonna drink something that's gonna kill you and then you keep drinking it, then that's not poison. And that's not poisoning. That's just fucking stupidity.
Right, but again, like I don't see a reason why specifically it should be illegal.
Why it should be illegal to sell poison?
Why should poison stay illegal? Why do you think poison?
Why
stay
should poison stay illegal?
Yeah.
Because you should never sell something that can only be used to
Guns.
kill yourself.
Guns.
It should not be human
Poisons
poison.
aren't only used to kill yourself.
What else would you use the human consumable poison for?
Well, I'm sure that there's a reason that it exists, right? Like arsenic and stuff. I don't know. Is there no actual like good use for arsenic?
I don't think so. I'm just saying. I don't think that poison should be sold. You know? Heck, I mean, even if we're gonna allow people
Well,
to suicide,
we
right?
sell poison right now. We sell rat poison. We sell bug poison.
Yeah, but those are specifically for rats and bugs. You're not supposed to use them on people, or that's called murder. And even if we were eventually supposed to, allow people to just kill themselves and off themselves, right?
But is there a human only poison? So should like poison mushrooms be illegal?
Illegal to sell? Probably.
To possess? Should it be illegal to possess poison?
It depends, I think. Because, I like to think that people just won't use the horrible poisons like that we use on like rats or mice and stuff on people. I think that we should try to create selective poisons that won't hurt people, that will only hurt the creatures,
So we want to just keep hurting creatures.
Well, I mean, get out of my house, you spider.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree that they should be illegal to sell or anything. I think that if we have those kind of laws, then if we do eventually get a drug a drug free, not a drug free society, a legal drug society. Oh, wait, we're not there yet. Video. If we do get, let me put Glink back on. If we do get a drug legal society, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I do like, it is like turning the gears in my head because I am thinking like, okay, well if it was like, I think possession should not be at all. I don't think at all. But thinking about it from a selling standpoint, like really, there is no reason to have like a regulated poison market, probably. Or at least like human poisons. But yeah, I could see that, like no selling, but I feel like possession still opens us up to the authoritarian police state, and then that's the next thing, right? So they can no longer like justify breaking into homes for drugs anymore. So now they're breaking into homes because these people are manufacturing poisons or something. I don't know.
No, I mean, you should just be able to make your own at-home poisons if you're.
I mean, people will. People still will, like, just get rice in like Breaking Bad style, or arsenic or something. People are gonna be able to find. People can make homemade weapons essentially. There's all kinds
Yeah.
of homemade weaponry you can make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you there. I can agree with that. The no selling of the poisons. I think where, like I said, where for me, where I started to kind of really push back on that was just where I see the police state still, the weapons of mass destruction argument, just for why they can still break into people and why they can still search people. Like they're gonna be like, there's a poison epidemic. There's assassins are poisoning everyone, and there's a poison epidemic.
I mean, there is though that there was that U.S. poisoning of several people through the mail way back when. Do you remember that? Where
Yeah, the anthrax stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, anthrax became illegal.
Dude, people were how much? I wonder how much that fucked with the postal system. Like their
know.
finances, like no one wanted to use no one trusted the post office anymore. They didn't know if they were opening up
Well, actually,
a
the post office
a
got
death
new
bomb
equipment.
every day. Yeah, they had to spend a lot of money. Right?
They had to get like this thing that when they're doing mail, it goes through like some crazy radiation screening to kill the organic anthrax.
I bet it does other stuff. It looks at drugs.
Yeah,
looks for drugs.
Yeah,
does
it
other
was
things.
like, from what I understand, primarily bought to kill the poisons.
Okay, let's get back to finishing up Mr. Glink's video. Don't want him to have to watch too long of a review.
Yeah.
Porn is a drug, not a controlled substance. We use the word drug to refer to a wide range of things, from drug wars to drug stores, heroin to caffeine, with connotations ranging from prescription to addiction. Some are illegal, some are promoted, and others are demonized. But what exactly constitutes a drug? Most would agree that any mind-altering substance fits under the label, but what about mind-altering experiences?
No. It doesn't fit under the label.
If you were to measure the physiological state of people spending hours a day scrolling through apps or watching TV, you would find that they too have had mind-altering effects, changes in their brain waves, dopamine releases in the neurons, stimulated audio-visual senses, a fixated, droopy-eyed stare, blood pooling in the legs, and so on.
They would also have these effects from eating a good meal or listening to some great music or going for a run, getting that runner's high, or just like accomplishing something in their life. All kinds of those kinds of activities all release dopamine. Does that mean that like runners are addicted to running, gym people are addicted to the gym? All of them. Everybody who likes eating good food is addicted to good food.
Yeah. I'm addicted to pizza.
Yeah. You can't stop. You have a physical dependence on pizza, Mr. Gundam.
Oh man, me and pizza, I'm just like nom, bro. Nom.
Yeah.
It's so
when
good.
you got the munchies.
Got the munchies.
All right.
Dinner is ready.
These are not substances we ingest, but media we consume nonetheless. And of all the graphic imagery screens can show you, porn is by far the most stimulating. A documentary might inform you on an important topic. A messaging app might connect you with a friend. But porn serves only one purpose: sexual stimulation that is detached from any human connection. Numerous fMRI scans.
Yeah, if anything, you would have to classify the sexual stimulation as the drug. So sex would be a drug.
Right.
If you were to put it as
the
anything.
porn-specific stimulation.
Yeah. Porn-specific stimulation would be the drug.
So he's
And
showing
at that point, just touching myself at night or having a wet dream would be then considered a drug. It's like, oh, I got so high last night, man. I jizzed in my pants.
he's He's citing here a 2008 study in which cocaine and sexual activations activated similar parts of the brain. Well, yeah, cocaine is enjoyable. Cocaine is enjoyable just like sex is enjoyable. Just because you have people try to cite these studies that to prove their narratives, and like it's we don't know what certain electrical activity in parts of our brains are literally a circuit board all day long. There is electrical activity going on all day.
Yep.
Even when you sleep, especially when you sleep. So just because certain activities send certain electricity to certain parts of the brain, specifically, of course, if you're doing a pleasurable activity, you're probably likely going to have, anything that makes you happy, you're going to have the happy part of your brain be surging with electricity. And sure, that doesn't mean that, cocaine and sex are the same. That's not what that means. But that's what this study aims to sort of insinuate based on scans that show that electricity is firing in the mind, which it happens all day long.
Yep, happens all day long, Chet.
Scans and studies on porn addiction have shown that it activates the same neural pathways as drugs like cocaine. And like other drugs, porn addiction...
What did you say?
Because it's pleasure.
Right. The same neural pathways that are pleasurable and euphoric.
Sorry, we like pleasure, bro.
Yeah, euphoria, not a good thing. They even use that a lot in drugs. That's like the one positive but they'll try to I feel like they try to make that word almost like scary in a way, because they'll
dirty.
They'll talk about hallucinations and euphoria as like these dangerous things, and it's like both of those words are like, okay, well, hallucinations, like, okay, well, so I'm gonna see stuff, cool, and then euphoria is like, oh, so like just pleasure, like just a lot of pleasure. That doesn't sound bad. That sounds actually kind of cool, kind of good, kind of pleasurable even.
No, you can't have pleasure. Get out of here. No pleasure for you.
He then cites this Journal of Sexual Medicine. Gray matter volume differences in impulse control and addictive disorders, and evidence from a sample of heterosexual males. Basically trying to link an increase in gray matter in the brain with impulse control and addictive disorders.
Addiction leads to reduced amounts of gray matter in the brain.
Negative correlation between gray matter volumes, GMVs, and severity of CSBD symptoms are correlated with
rewires your
habits,
reward system, and it can lead to self-destructive behavior.
Everything rewires your reward system. Even when you find a new hobby, you rewire your reward system because you are like, oh, hey, I never knew that this new thing that I'm doing could get me so excited and happy and release all of these dope ass brain chemicals. Dope ass dopamine. Like
dope ass dopamine.
Yeah. So when you find out a new way to activate your reward center, it rewires your brain activity too. That doesn't mean that like new hobbies and new activities that I discover that I enjoy are evil or drugs, because they rewire my mind. Every time I consume new content, my mind is rewired. If I intake information that I then, rework my entire framework of life. It's such a vague thing to try to correlate to drugs. And this is very common in the prohibitionist speak and in the conservatives, which I'm not saying that Glink is. I don't think he is. He talks about psychedelics and mushrooms actually almost in an evangelical sense. So I think that he's pro-drug, or at least pro-psychedelics. If he's only a psychedelic exceptionalist, which is quite common in this era, then that would be unfortunate. I would hope that he that he is ultimately, if he's trying to abolish the word drug, as he's trying to villainize porn, I find it difficult to believe that he wants to legalize all drugs, but maybe he does. But I also feel like he's really trying to come at this with like, hey, porn is this crazy addictive, insane thing that is so like similar to, it works so similarly to a drug that it must be a drug. And I don't think that, like I said, I don't think that gets us anywhere, and I don't agree with any of these studies proving any of that so far. But let's keep diving in.
Behaviors, just to name a few. If porn was only in the form of physical posters or lewd magazines as it has been for decades, it may not be such a big deal. But of course, in the age of information, porn is accessible everywhere, all the time, for free. Thousands of pages of hardcore fucking, erotic fetishes, and strangers having sex on film are just a click away on the screen.
Fucking. Just fucking.
Hardcore fucking. That's what he said.
Of adult men, women, teenagers, and children. I would know. My first exposure to porn was through the Wii Internet channel, funnily enough. I was 14, and from there I began a daily habit of porn consumption and masturbation, a combination sometimes referred to as PMOing, porn masturbation
Seriously,
orgasm.
Seriously? Shout out to the OGs who remember Channel 47. Shout out. You know that I
developed
know that we know.
Addiction to the flood of dopamine and endorphins PMO release. And over time, this habit warped my perception of what sex is.
He's trying to associate the porn with the masturbation by talking about this PMO term, though. Then he's like, look, it's known as PMOing. So when you porn and masturbate, like that's how he lumps in the masturbation with the whole process. And because we know that it's decoupled, he's trying to couple it up.
If it's evil, it normally has a fucking acronym.
PMO.
Is, and even what I found arousing. It's hard to say exactly how much porn consumption has affected my development, but as I got into my late teens and early 20s, I became more self-aware of it and began to wean myself off of porn. Now, I rarely have the desire to PMO. If I do masturbate, it's infrequent and using my imagination.
Okay, now this is the part.
I like his Canty picture, though. I like Canty.
Yeah. Dope. So this is the part where I feel like this is where I kind of broke down his argument here, because he mentions
he does mention some things.
Now, I rarely have the desire to
he mentions
it's infrequent
in his
and
mind
using my imagination.
So, question, chat. When you watch a porn, you are, in fact, watching simulated sex between potentially two strangers, or if you're watching POV porn, right? You're watching it through your eyes, in a sense, right? That's what they try to go for, at least your point of view. When you are not watching porn and you are instead playing a video in your mind of a woman who's not really there, naked or fucking you or whatever she's doing in there that is arousing you to the point where you are then stimulated enough to orgasm, how is that not porn? It is the same thing. You are just playing your own personalized imagination porn in your head, but it is still porn. It is still not actual sex. You are still using a stimulation. You are still using imagination because you realize that how is that any different other than the fact that there's not a script, but it's your script.
Hey, it's your script.
It's still simulation. It's just in your mind stimulation. That is no different than the porn. If I have some lolly girl in my head.
What the fuck? We didn't have a talk about lollies.
No, we're not gonna have a talk about lollies. If I have literally, I'm just giving an example. If I have anything in my brain, how is that any different from looking at the porn?
That's a good point, I guess.
It is still simulation. You get what I'm saying? It's still you're still looking at a female who's not there, and you're still envisioning, you're still imagining her saying things and doing things and all the, just like the other simulation. It's just a movie in your head. It's like when you go back and you rethink about the TV show that you've already watched, right? Or a movie scene, and you can take yourself back to that movie scene. You can do that, right?
Yeah.
You remember certain scenes from TV shows and movies you've consumed, right?
I remember a shitload of stuff from TV and movies.
Right. Tons of pop culture stuff that you've seen, right?
Yeah.
And so when you are recalling those things, are you able to visualize that in your mind?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So when you're recalling or visualizing the female form in your mind, you're usually also, putting faces on it, skin on it. It looks like a person that would excite you. And you can even come up with 2. I can imagine 2 girls, 3 girls, 4 girls, 5. Like, I can imagine whatever the hell I want. I can imagine stuff that's so much fucking crazier than the porn. And so I feel like that is one of the major breakdowns I have of his argument. The other side of it is that he only is talking about pornography from the perspective of specifically video porn, because I don't think that a lot of the same things, and I don't know that he talks about it much in this video, but a lot of in his other videos or his other things on this topic, specifically the porn drug thing, he talks about how like the porn puts thoughts in your head about like expectations of what you're supposed to expect from people in the bedroom. And I'm not saying that in some people it doesn't happen, and he said in him it did happen. I think to me, to a certain degree, I can understand what he's saying, though I don't think that like it necessarily made it so that I'm only stimulated by those things. But I do know that at certain times when I would say I had porn addictions, I did go down some pretty dark rabbit holes, because eventually, the addiction part of it was that I needed
more stimulation,
and eventually your tried and trues don't do it for you anymore, and eventually you just can't find anything else that you really like, and then you start looking for crazier stuff.
You never use the same position twice in one time. Gotta change it up, chat.
Yeah, I like different angles and ladies.
Yeah. Different angles, different ladies, different positions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, chat. Yeah.
But yeah, even though I also went through what I would call probably a porn addiction phase, I would definitely not consider it a drug. I would not lump it in with masturbation. I think that the whole, like we said, the entire act of masturbation itself is really where the majority of that pleasure is coming from. The drug, the porn is just, like I said, just like the scented candle. It's just extra stimulation. Maybe you took like a aphrodisiac of some sort that made your stimulation even extra, like even more.
Aphrodisiacs, the edibles.
Right. Those sexual chocolates at the lovers.
Right. Are we gonna need Are we gonna need some regulatory aphrodisiacs?
Maybe.
The times I do see
aphrodisiac market go.
Yeah. And like I said, the thing of the that's what I was saying earlier. Sorry, I'm almost lost that last part. But basically, the thing of the expectations of like, oh, this is how girls should act, and guys only being able to be stimulated and taking that into the bedroom and taking that into other people. Like, if that's what he was doing, I feel like that's kind of projection. I don't really take that into the bedroom with me. I mean, I definitely do do enjoy some role play from time to time and various things with my partners, but you know, it's not like we're just acting out pornos. Where I'm acting out things with them specifically, and you know, every partner is their own unique dance, and I don't see it that way at all. Is that even when like I said, even with me being a person who really appreciates porn, a person who really indulges and enjoys it, and who did go through a period in which I felt like I was addicted, and I was able to, you know, kind of kick that habit for a while, and then get into better control with it, and now I have a much healthier relationship with it. But I still really love it. In fact, I mean, I would love to film porn, create porn, do all kinds of stuff with porn. I think porn's great. But yeah, I don't think that like still images produce expectations. I don't think that like drawings produce expectations, and all of those things can also be categorized as porn. So the same thing of what like he's trying to talk about with the drug thing, he's doing with the word porn by only talking about one specific thing, a video porn with audio and all these things. He's not taking into account just like nudie magazines or, you know, hentai or any of this other stuff that exists. Literally, a person can draw a picture of boobs. People have been, you know, I was gonna it calls to mind the Genshiken rant about the cave paintings and the XYZ thing, or the XY, what was it? It was
Hey, what are you, a Puritan who hates tentacle porn?
like people can get stimulated from pornography, even if
Oh,
just
how
like
do you know tentacle porn was like made in ancient Japan with fucking octopi? It was lovely.
in prison, like people who are very talented in art can like draw porno comics or just like beautiful women naked and sell that shit, and it goes for, and that's porn too. And like that's not placing sexual expectations and putting ideas into the young children's minds. And like, so like if you need to clearly define what you're talking about when you're talking about the kind of porn that you're saying is a drug, because porn is a very broad term, just like drug is, unfortunately. And so and again, going back to overall the point, I don't think that it is a drug by any definitions of what we have known drug to be, based on our actual policies and the people who regulate drugs in our country and also in the world. And we're going to talk about all those definitions in our upcoming video. So look forward to that chat. But let's continue with Mr. Glink, because this is the prelude.
Porn, it's mostly just scrolling past social media apps and rarely from seeking it out. Overall, I have a much healthier relationship with my sexual desires and a more realistic perception of sex now. I'm making this video because porn is accessible and it's pervasive and addiction is common, and yet there's no public conversation on it because it's not viewed as a drug. It's not.
Okay, this point also saying there's no public conversation on it. There is so much public discourse about OnlyFans and about pornography. There has always been a public discourse about pornography. One of the main reasons that like Pornhub donates so much money to like charities and things, other than being like a stand-up company, hopefully for the most part, at least in their charity work, is because of the negative stigma and image that porn has. Like if you tell people that you're a stripper, if you tell people that you're a porn star, if you tell people that you have an OnlyFans, there's a stigma around that. The reason is because there is plenty of negative discourse towards porn. So I don't really understand what he's trying to say here.
Porn though, but he's like saying that there's no conversation at all. I mean, during people who have porn addictions, you know, there is a conversation about porn addictions, whether it's real, whether
right, the fact alone that he cited many studies about porn addiction clearly shows that people are talking about porn addiction.
Yeah.
Something you
I would
inject.
also have to say, like, the way he's describing it, it kind of, I don't know if this is rude or not, because pretty sure he's not going for it. But I mean, it kind of just reminds me of the Bible.
Yeah,
Like, thou shalt not
he's
covet your neighbor's wife, and
yeah.
if even thinking about it is considered adultery and all that.
So, funnily enough, you say that in his, and I didn't want to take it there with, I really didn't want to take it there, but you took it there, and that's so funny because it's funny because you're unbiased, and maybe people are not even going to believe that, or Glink's going to think this is like set up or something, but no, Mr. Gundam has not seen this video. He did not know what we were watching here. I have seen the video already. I had already formulated opinions before we went into this. He is watching it for the first time right now. We discussed the video a little bit, but he did not watch it. So he kind of knew he kind of knew the basis of it,
whether or not porn was an addiction
or a drug, because it's saying the most addictive drug that nobody talks about. That's the name of it. But you said it now. So I mean, we can talk about that. Glink has said when he was debating Mr. Girl on this topic specifically, he asked him, based on the way he was acting, as you has also hit the ding ding, if he was religious, as well as he asked the other people in the panel if they were religious. And he is a Christian, and he does like, or they were like, they are religious in some way. I mean, they do believe in like God and things like that. So yeah, and he was raised, I think, very Christian, or very, one of those like Judeo-Christian or the Catholic.
I'm not saying, it's bad to be Christian. I'm just saying that being religious can have a
right, but it's affected his bias, right?
Specific things,
right?
And when you have a built-in bias, it's easy to make negative conclusions.
And it's not just built in, it's programmed. It is not just built in.
Yeah.
That wasn't inherent. That was put into him by the religion. Yeah, they build it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it is easy. I'm not saying that it, I mean, I would say that maybe his bias is a little showing. I mean, maybe that's not what he was going for. But I mean,
but that's the thing. That's the thing, is even if you're not going for it, your perspective is going to be based so much on your biases and on what you were taught and what you know. And so he is, it's beautiful if his mind has been opened by psychedelics and just it's changed his whole framework on how he's viewing drugs. I think that that's beautiful. But I think that going about disassembling the drug word by stigmatizing something else that you're religion, or that just in general society kind of already stigmatizes, and then try to be like, okay, well, I'm going to also associate this with drug because it's addictive, and then that's going to somehow break down that's going to somehow bring forth the conversation that the word drug is useless and we need to redefine all these things. And I don't think that gets us there.
Demonizing more things won't help us get to the destigmatization of drugs. It's just going to make more things stigmatized. Just more things. They'll just add more things to the pile until we finally just dissolve the word itself.
No.
I mean, what's next? Sunbathing gives you cancer. Why are you all sunbathing? Are you crazy?
Everything gives you
We
cancer.
should ban it. It's a drug. They love sunbathing.
Ban everything. Ban pleasure.
Right? Just ban anything that gives people pleasure, because they will do it.
Yeah, I think that's what I've heard, like other like severely right wing like debate streams and stuff, and Christian.
He's right wing.
No, not at all. Not talking about Glink. Just saying I have heard severely like hyper religious, hyper right wing like stream debaters say that supposedly like that people on the left, like all of the progressive policies are based around sinning and pleasure because we want legal drugs and legal sex work. And it's like, no, like, yes, we do want those things. And it's great that those things bring pleasure. But the fact that they've been criminalized and stigmatized in the first place is because of the religion that like basically built our world. And so like it's not that we like it's that those laws and policies that are only based on moral values that were just instilled in us by, really old, stupid people that wrote a book a really long time ago. Not saying anything bad about the religion or the book or the values in it or anything. I know that Mr. Gundam and I were also raised in the same kind of framework, so we understand it. We get it. I see the world through a lot of those. I did, at least I would say, see the world through a lot of those biases for much of my life, and even now to this day, of course, I am always going to see the world through my particular perspective, and the fact that I was raised through that way, I can't help but see certain things through also that framework. And it's helpful to be able to see the world through, put a different lens on, essentially, and look at the world through, how would a Christian look at this? How would this, it helps you be more empathetic. So I'm not knocking at all what he's saying here. I am just saying, like, I do notice that it's very common that they think that all of the like progressive laws and all the things that the left and the progressive movements are interested in are all related to pleasure and sin.
It's not something you ingest, and yet the experience on your brain is all the same.
Great. Yeah, I think shrooms are a drug. And there's a lot of over-the-counter drugs that we take. I think drug has a negative connotation that I don't think shrooms should have. Yeah, but it would be.
Yeah, I agree. It does have a negative connotation. And over-the-counter drugs are also drugs. Your Advils and your Tylenol are drugs, and you're getting high off of them.
Considered a drug versus, I think ingesting it, the actually difference that, the differences you get from it. So, yeah.
Psychedelic substances. These are defined as harmful, addictive drugs, but what they do is actually the complete opposite of porn. They alter your state of mind, and where they bring you is a place...
Wait, he said the complete opposite of porn, but then he said they alter your state of mind, and earlier in the thing you said porn alter your state of mind. So how is that the complete opposite?
Right.
Okay.
Far closer
to
reality.
Just a little inconsistency, bro. That's what that is. Just a little inconsistency.
Consistency is... It's important to be consistent.
They bring you is
especially when you're...
Well, and what drugs are, because he doesn't want to demonize drugs here.
Right.
Place far closer.
But he is trying to demonize
certain other activities. Right.
Yes.
To reality than a sober state of mind. But that is a topic for another video.
He said that it's that the mushroom state of mind is preferable to the sober state of mind. I don't think that that's like borderline promotion, and I don't think that that's like necessarily true. I think that there is gonna be people who are going to have adverse effects to magic mushrooms, just like there are people who have adverse effects to all kinds of other drugs. I don't think that like
adverse effects for
I think that there is definitely a psychedelic evangelism happening right now, and I'm all about it because legal drugs, fuck yeah, and because I personally think that yes, in general, I do think that psychedelics, various different kinds of psychedelics, do have a lot of good benefits to people, and but not everybody goes through the ego death, and not everybody sees all the same stuff, and not everybody knows how to interpret their lessons, and not everybody does these things correctly and safely. And I believe Glink even has a top, maybe we'll cover that another day or something, but he has like a top 10, like top 10 ways to do shrooms, or like 10 tips to like take a trip or something like that. Maybe it wasn't 10 tips to take a trip, but holy moly, that's a great name. Like so many T's. 10 tips to take a trip. But yeah, he basically like labels like these 10 rules, and he's like, and I think one of the rules he was like, do it outside. And I was like, he was like, make sure you're doing it like outside in nature. And I'm like, no, like not everybody should go do magic mushrooms.
Oh, magic mushrooms.
No, magic mushrooms in the middle of nature. And I was like, no, I mean, yes, like it's great if you're someone who can do mushrooms and like knows that and everything, like that's great. But like there are people who definitely, friends of mine even who I know for a fact like only like to do it in their apartment when everything's chill, and set and setting is super important, and which he does talk about. But to promote that outside is the way to do them, I think is actually pretty foolhardy. I think that, like I said, I know of people who have thought that they, could do things with their body that they couldn't do when they were potentially tripping, or, just running out into the forest. I mean, you could potentially get lost. Like all kinds of things could potentially happen. It really depends on, and I'm not trying to, make these things sound scary. I'm just saying in general, especially if it's your first time ever, I would actually adamantly not recommend doing it outside unless you are with like a very good group of people who are going to take care of you, and the outside area even is like more familiar to you. But I honestly would really just push for a more familiar setting. The more familiar it is to you, the overall better, I feel like. Though I would say that after you have your first trip, not everybody, again, because I'm not going to be some kind of evangelist that's going to promote this thing as some kind of God either. But generally, a lot of people who do experience, lessons or ego death or whatever you want to call it, the positive effects, the positive neural restructuring or neurogenesis or neuroplasticity or the different modules of thought that stem from psilocybin use. Generally, all these things do breed positive effects, but that doesn't mean that we should be promoting it for everyone. And we should promote safe use. And I really do believe that familiarity of your set and setting is important. And outside is only advisable if you're around a lot of people, and probably if you've done it already,
Like
if you're
in
familiar
your
with the drug.
backyard.
Yeah, maybe like in your backyard.
And you're gonna stay
Don't just
there.
like don't do it on like a camping trip in an unfamiliar area. Like
Yeah. No need to walk around and track possible bears.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you for watching.
Sir. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah. Hope you have a great day.
Peace.
Thanks for giving us some
Love
content
and
to
peace,
watch.
bro.
Peace and
Love
love.
and peace.
Would you consider shrooms to be a drug?
Again,
She's like, no.
Thank you.
They were like, yeah,
And-
those two were like, yeah, the girl on the right now. Like, hell yeah. Girl likes to party.
Hero likes the drugs.
She likes to party.